Good afternoon. Welcome back for the second session. At the outset, I offer my sincere pranams to His Holiness Shri Shivaratri Deshikendra Mahaswamiji. And I'm delighted to introduce the next resource person, Professor K.S. Suresh sir, who is Chief Executive at JSS Law College. We have been introducing you to different walks of life so that you know and be aware what is required as good citizens of India, because you are all future citizens of India, and sir is apt in that area because he's a law person. Sir is actively involved in many of the committees which are there as statutory bodies in universities. At JSS Science and Tech University, sir is also member of the committee which is very crucial called as Malpractices and Lapses Committee. So I don't wish any one of you to meet sir over there. Here is good. There is also a committee in our own institute which is called as ICC, Internal Complaint Committee, which is related with any issues with girls and any kind of harassment. You can lodge a complaint. Sir is also a member of that. Sir also is a trainer as a resource person, goes to many of the reputed institutes like Police Academy and other police department as resource person. Sir has trained many police officers related with law aspects. Sir has been actively involved throughout his career with his advising as well as involvement with the law practices for good societal contact. Many of the times, we don't even be aware of the things which is very much crucial for our life. We know so many things about celebrity and all, but we don't know the laws related with our own protection. So, sir will be telling you about today POSH acronym. Anybody aware what is the full form of the acronym? Prevention of sexual harassment at workplaces and atrocities against women. That has to be prevented. So, sir will be dealing with that and many of the other things with gender laws. We are happy to have you here, sir. I request Priyanka ma'am to welcome sir with a sapling. Thank you, ma'am. So please continue.
Good morning. Good morning. They say speaking is an art, but to me, listening is a greater art. I can make out here. You have been listening since almost 7, 8 days, 6, 7 days. I'll tell you, it requires a lot of energy. Unlike actually the speaker who has come prepared, he doesn't mind actually speaking 1 or 2 hours and go away. But you people got to, in fact, listen, store, and actually digest it. It requires a lot of energy. Anyway, but you must actually get used to it till you get actually employed. At the outset, I'd like to thank Dr. Hema for having invited me here. I think why I'm here because of a couple of reasons. One is I happen to be actually the member of Malpractices and Lapses Committee, where our students actually commit plenty of actually examination malpractices and plenty of actually cases, varieties of cases they come. I'll be keep telling them, look, unless and until you actually create an awareness about malpractices, you cannot actually curb it. Many of you do it as a matter of right. Sir, I was not able to read, sir, study, therefore actually I brought this sheet. I forgot to, in fact, keep my mobile phone outside. I forgot and actually brought it here. See, these are the things I'll tell you. You will have to create an awareness actually amongst you people. Once you are caught, I'll tell you, your career actually gets a big jolt, right? I've seen actually, and almost actually on monthly basis we meet, and at least there will be 25 to 30 people, and many of them actually lose 1 or 2 years actually of their student life here because they will be debarred actually from the examination hall. So that's one thing actually I just wanted to say. I think someone must have already spoken actually on examination malpractices, right? Yes. He must have spoken, of course, spoken. And our control of examination actually is a very good person actually to speak on that because he is the one who's supposed to take care of it. And a couple of other things usually actually what happens is because I happen to head a law institute where I used to get actually students from several states and several nations earlier. And therefore, you had to maintain a kind of actually homogeneity there. because from 16 to 17 countries I used to have actually students in my college, and 18 to 20 states I used to have actually students in my college. So you have to maintain a kind of actually, a homogeneity. You had to work very hard, because each one actually coming with his own actually cultural backdrops, indeed actually difficult. So one thing actually that we must always actually tell the students actually is, these are the couple of things you must not actually do as a student, which actually affects your actually career. So I have been actually asked to speak on sexual harassment at workplace act. I am not actually going to speak on the act. I would like to just actually share my experiences. In the last 15 to 20 years, I must have enquired nearly 100 actually cases of sexual harassment, including actually colleges, universities, and many actually departments actually of Government of Karnataka and Government of India, including AR Mysore, right, where there will be some kind of a sexual harassment, and the women actually comes forward actually with the complaint. The men actually who said to have committed this act, they would simply justify saying that I have not done it, sir. This is not sexual harassment. Unfortunately, many of the people do not know what sexual harassment is, right? And our laws also did not actually speak much about it. Say, principally, our Indian Penal Code, till recently we called it, now it is called actually BNS, was drafted some 200 years ago. The same law, we kept it actually till last year. 200 years ago, Macaulay drafted it. The same bloody actually principles, same crimes, without actually changing much, we kept it. And even after driving out actually this British for 75 long years, actually we kept the law. And many of these actually activities which we call actually crime now were not at all discussed there. Now the new law actually has come. It has incorporated some 25, 30 new offences, where our youngsters actually are very good at actually inventing new crimes, which Macaulay 200 years ago never thought this could be a crime. Say for example, a man or a boy stares at a girl like this, earlier it wasn't an offence at all. So if you go to a police station, say that this man always actually looks at me, sir, he stares at me, glazes at me, etc., which is very offending. The police officer actually was at loss, because he could not actually find any section to book a case against him, because our law did not actually provide. Now actually we have made a law. I'll tell you, if you stare at somebody and if the other person actually gets offended, it's an offense. If you follow somebody, I'll tell you, where the other person is not interested actually in having any kind of relationship with you, still actually want to foster a relationship actually with that person, it's a very serious offense, I'll tell you. You could be sent to jail actually for 6 months. So therefore, in local, in universities like this or colleges like this, I'll tell you, many of the things actually you do without knowing the consequences of it. So therefore, I would like to just actually give you some of the examples as to what exactly constitutes actually sexual harassment and what is not. I'll tell you what happens is, in sexual harassment, there will be a local mechanism to sort out this problem. Say for example, there is a problem actually between boy and a girl, I'll tell you. The girl says it is a sexual harassment, the boy says it is not. The college itself actually will have a committee, it looks into it, and madam actually was there in that committee, I was also there. We'll say whether it is sexual harassment or not. If it is so, there is a prescription as to what punishment should be given. We'll give the punishment, okay. If the offence or the act actually slightly serious, I'll tell you, we cannot actually handle it. It has to be handed over to whom? The police. Once you are actually in the custody of the police, I'll tell you, your life actually becomes a misery. If not a big misery, it will be a misery, because they have to follow plenty of actually procedures, which actually really humiliating actually for an youngster like you, right? I still remember actually one very incident actually when I was very new to this profession. There was a hostel near in the city where my students actually used to stay, and I was asked to take care of that actually hostel. And the boys actually in the hostel of a law college, they were very mischievous, unlike you engineering students. They were very mischievous. And there actually, once what happened, couple of boys actually went to kitchen, took actually these gas cylinders, threw out actually of the compound wall. At that particular point of time, I'll tell you, gas cylinders were very difficult to get, the connections, right? So somebody took it away, and the hostel actually had to cook the food without actually enough number of gas cylinders. It was brought to our notice, and we inquired. The students actually said, nothing doing, we don't know, they said. Then I went to Devaraja police station, filed a complaint. The police said, okay, we'll do it. And later on we came to know that actually some of the boys who were actually done this work, they came to know that a police complaint has been lodged. They disappeared from actually the hostel. They went underground. For 1 week they did not come. One night after a week, I'll tell you, a dead other night at 2 o'clock or so midnight, somebody started actually knocking the door actually at my house. I just opened. This boy actually rushed into my house and actually fell flat actually on my feet and said, please do something, sir. We only did it, please do something. Then I said, nothing doing, we have already registered the case. Police have taken notice of that and I can't help. So they started pleading, I'll tell you, they were not ready to leave at all. Next day morning, anyway, why I want to spoil their life, I went to the police station. I spoke to the police officer. The police officer actually got angry. What is this? You give a complaint, a very serious actually complaint of theft, and you want to withdraw. Then I had to convince him and told him, look, they did it actually inadvertently. They never intended to do it. It's an act of mischief. I think that we should actually give them a chance and all. With all difficulty, he withdrew the case. And those boys actually became very quiet. What happened to those boys? One of them is a judge now. The other one is a leading advocate. If he insisted, I'll tell you, at that particular point of them, the case actually should have been registered against them, they would have become actually a regular visitor to Mysore jail. Once you go to jail and come out, I'll tell you, think actually you'll get actually the kind of respect others get? Certainly not. And you think actually you'll get a job? No, certainly not. Only job that is available to you is you'll have to do actually those illegal things and keep actually visiting the jail. So these are all mischievous things actually students do it. They did not have the intention to do it. But they did it actually without knowing the consequences. The purpose of induction program actually is to create such actually a kind of an awareness, that's it. So what we do is, I'll tell you, in the examination, before the examination actually in my college it begins, I actually hold them actually workshop actually on examination actually system. And I actually make slides and actually put actually up on the screen showing that, look, these are the mistakes actually students do it. These are the mistakes, right? And we point out all the mistakes and say, look, if you avoid these mistakes, chances of actually failing will be reduced by at least 20 to 25%. So this is one wonderful actually experiment that I have conducted. I have seen actually there's a considerable actually increase in the results, because sometimes they don't write actually the question number, they don't write actually legibly, which could be understood actually by the valuer, and sometimes they do not know the quantum of answer they should write. Say for example, a short notes, they write 3 pages. A long answer actually question, they write only half a paragraph. So this kind of a mismatch, right? So when these things actually are appraised, and with actually the sum of the sample answer scripts, many of the students actually pick up actually some lessons and do not repeat that mistakes. And one more thing I do, you can also do it. The best answer script actually photocopied and kept in the library, right? If you want to write actually a better answer, go and see that particular thing. And we want to still actually experiment by keeping the worst answer also. We do not want to do it because, that will be unnecessarily undermining someone's actually competence. We don't do it, but the best script actually will keep it. Be that as it may, these are some of the things. So this induction program, you must have been already apprised of that, why actually you need actually an induction program. It is very much required, I would say, because, you come actually from a school, I would still actually say PUC is nothing but an extended school. You agree with me? It is an extended school, I will tell you. A particular actually prescribed text is given to you, you by heart it, you remember it, and you omit whatever actually you by heart in the examination, you get 95%, 96%. Wonderful actually answers. This is a professional college, I will tell you. That kind of a business doesn't work here. That kind of business doesn't work here. Right, where you will have to gather information from many sources. So there is no one textbook. It is not simply just actually storing information. You are not a hard disk where you will have to store the information, I will tell you. Whatever information you get, actually you must analyze it and apply it to the given situation. A kind of an analytical capacity you will have to develop. That is what exactly you do in a professional college, right? So this is the kind of actually mindset with which actually you have to come here and get yourself prepared for this kind of a thing. You come actually with plenty of actually earlier habits. The moment you enter into a professional college, I will tell you, you will have to shake off all your actually earlier things. Shake off. You come here actually as a neat, clean slate, so that actually freshly you can actually write your future, right? That is one very thing. And behavior modification is very much actually required, right? So I'm not saying that actually your behavior is bad. Your behavior actually was suitable to a school or a pre-college actually level. Your behavior actually here has to be for a professional actually student. It should be according to the standards actually the professional college. Means that kind of actually activity or the conduct, you will have to develop it. And not only that, I'll tell you, there will be always actually a kind of a culture in a professional college. So more so actually in an institution like your science and technology, because this is an institution actually is being run by a spiritual organization which has a history of actually 1000 years, right? And we have here more than 350 institutions, not just in India, across the globe, nearly 4 universities, lakhs and lakhs of students actually study, and thousands actually employees work, and all of them, I'll tell you, have a kind of a culture actually which represents our management, what is actually called Jesus Mahavidyapita or Sisutturmat. So the top leadership actually has that spiritual kind of an aura. It percolates down to the last person actually in the organization. So I would say you are lucky or fortunate to be actually in such a wonderful actually institution where it is not just, I'll tell you, the academics that actually happen here. It is something more than that. Values and spirituality also will be imbibed here to all the students. So therefore, a new culture actually you have to develop, right? And tomorrow, because I need not tell, you know it actually, the reputation of this wonderful actually institution. Earlier it was actually called SJC. Now it is Science and Technology University. You will go to any part of the world, I'll tell you, will be able to find actually students of SJC. My son, who was a student actually here 7-8 years ago, he settled down actually in Ireland, and he still remembers actually the wonderful days actually of this college. He had just come, I was telling him, I'm going to your department, right? Science and Technology, computer science department, I'm going to address actually the youngsters. Like that, a day will come, you'll certainly remember, I'll tell you, that you did actually your studies here. See, in any good education, I'll tell you, before I come to that sexual harassment, any good education system actually, these are the 4 pillars that actually make that education meaningful. The first and the foremost actually the students, the focal point, right? The kind of students actually who come. And second one actually is parents. Whenever I say actually in the educational institutions, parents have to contribute more, many of the parents actually somehow don't understand. Sir, what parents can do actually in a professional college or in a college level, right? That is the mistake actually they do it. I'll tell you, I insist in my college, during admission, parents have to come actually for the admission. During actually induction program, for one session, parents must be present. I insist actually both the parents must come. If they can't make it, at least one of them should actually come. This is not a primary school or a kindergarten, sir, where parents have to bring their children, etc., etc. My children actually are grown up. Why should I come? I tell them, look, the next 5 years, I'll tell you, so crucial for your son or daughter, that will determine the life of your son or daughter for next 50 years. Next 50 years. The next 50 years actually are determined actually in these 5 years where the boy or the girl is going to study. And for that, you should actually contribute 50% and I will contribute 50%. It is not my responsibility. Most of the parents think that actually we pay the fees, you take care of. It looks nonsense, I'll tell you. Right? You stay in the college 5 or 6 hours, remaining 18 to 17 hours you stay at home. Who should actually take care of your interest, I'll tell you? Parents actually must take more than 50%. I am actually concerned only about the academics. Academics alone actually will not make a person actually a complete being. Right? Many other things also there. So therefore I insist, and the parents come, and once they come and actually listen to us, then agree with us and they cooperate. That is one reason why I'll tell you, even my students actually have spread across the globe, and more than 300 of my students actually are judges working across the country and outside the country. 300 of them as judges, right? So a good education is this, and we are very fortunate. The third actually pillar is college administration or the institute. That's very, very important. College has to have some standard actually practices, and all those practices actually must be imbibed on you. And lastly, the faculty. You don't have to worry, we have a wonderful actually faculty in this particular institution. These 4 actually people make an institution great. The career of the students actually wonderfully, they make it actually beautiful. So now actually coming to this one, couple of things actually you should be extremely careful. One is, when you actually try to have a kind of a relationship actually with the other sex, particularly with the other sex or opposite sex, I would only say you should be cautious. I don't say you should not actually do it. You'll have to be cautious, because these days everything can be captured, and there will be a solid actual evidence to show what exactly has happened. and tomorrow it becomes extremely difficult for you to defend yourself. So when you actually behave or conduct yourself actually with your opposite sex, try to be slightly cautious. I don't say you will be extremely cautious or something like that. You are all youngsters, I'll tell you. You do not have to be that serious. But however, actually there has to be some kind of a thing. So these are the things. One is ragging, right? Ragging, I'm sure I'll tell you ragging is not a very big problem actually in this particular institution, though I am in several of the institutions actually in anti-ragging committee where actually ragging of the worst type actually takes place. In Mysore itself, worst type, I'll tell you. In one of the institutions where I went actually, I brought a youngster actually gave me a haircut, ugly haircut, and he was kicked out of the room. And that person actually had to run to a barber shop and have a neat actually haircut and come back. The boy actually was mentally tortured, I'll tell you, and we had to in fact actually punish those boys who did it. Okay, it's okay, no problem. But some of the ragging incidents, you will be wondering, I'll tell you, they physically assault actually the juniors. And I still remember why actually UGC passed actually certain guidelines in 2009, because in Himachal Pradesh actually when medical college, Rajendra Medical College, where actually seniors actually rag the juniors. It is not like Munnabai MBBS kind of a ragging, right? It was much severe than that. Where the boys actually, the freshers were called into a room midnight at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and they were asked to slap actually on the face of the other boy. And the slapping actually went on and on actually till next day morning 6 o'clock. For 3 to 4 hours continuously they have to slap, keep slapping, right, on both hands. And this boy, I'll tell you, comes home, back to the hostel, the only son of the family, I'll tell you, and he was very much tired, and before actually could go to the class, he collapses and dies. So that actually attracted the attention actually of all education organizations, including the regulatory bodies like UGC, etc., ACT, etc. Then they came out actually with a guideline stating that actually how anti-ragging actually should be observed in institutions, and what should be the punishment, etc., etc. We have punished actually several of the people actually regarding ragging. One is ragging. The second one actually sexual harassment. Sexual harassment actually is something, I'll tell you. Most of you think that actually sexual harassment is physically grabbing somebody and doing something. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Sexual harassment actually is a very subtle kind of a thing, I'll tell you. Subtle kind of a thing. Look, it says an unwelcome verbal or non-verbal, visual or physical contact. Verbally, you don't have to say anything, I'll tell you. If you make certain gestures, I'll tell you, you will be offending actually the other person, right? So it says a sexual comment or a sexually determined behavior. You comment you make actually, you have actually sexuality in your mind. A kind of a behavior where you do, your behavior will convey actually a message that you are sexually, in fact, actually trying to do something actually to the other person. You are all grown up kids, I don't have to explain, I'll tell you what is actually sexually determined behavior. I'm sure I'll tell you, you are intelligent enough to understand a behavior is sexually, determined behavior or not. Can you not make it out? You can certainly make it out. I'll tell you, both boys and girls actually can make it. So I'll tell you, if someone actually looks at or leers at somebody's body like that with a lusty eyes, it's very difficult, many of the sexual harassment actually cases I have inquired into. In one of the very interesting cases, what happened was actually I went to a hospital where actually nurse actually said the chief security officer actually is harassing her, and a kind of his behavior actually is not liked by me. I want some kind of actually, you will have to stop that person actually. I asked, what is the problem? And the nurse actually said, every day morning he comes and says, good morning sister, and shakes the hand actually of every sister, though the nurses are not interested actually extending their hands. And he deliberately takes their hand and keeps shaking, pressing very hard for a very, very long time. So the nurse actually said, what is this nonsense, sir? He grabs her hand, actually keeps shaking for a very long time. Then we called that person, what is this nonsense? Sir, I am an army man, sir. Without shaking hand, I don't greet anybody in the morning, and my shake hand actually will be very firm, sir. Then how long will you shake? Is there any limit actually in law that I should shake hand only for 2 seconds or 3 seconds? I shake it actually for 25 seconds. Look at actually these idiots, the way actually they speak. And our law doesn't say shake hand means it should be like this. You should only shake hands for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. 2 seconds, 3 seconds. See, this is the sexually determined behavior. Can you not actually make out? Right? This is how it is. So, if someone actually leers at somebody, looks at actually in a lusty eyes, actually a girl, right? It is sexually. And displaying actually sexually visual material. So, for example, in your laptop, in your phone, etc., etc., you visually, in fact, actually explicit, actually kind of pictures you put it, which is sexually oriented and make others compulsorily see it, right? That is actually one thing. And not only this, I'll tell you one very interesting case I decided actually in one of the universities, let me not name it, where telling a woman or an employee or a girl the way she dresses, you look wonderful today. Many of the women actually take it as a compliment. If we keep telling it every day, I'll tell you it is not a compliment. There is some kind of a hint, right? You know what happened actually in the university was, a woman, middle-aged woman actually went to office. On that day she was wearing sari and the superintendent said, you look beautiful in this sari. She took it as a compliment. Which girl actually, which woman says you look beautiful, they don't take it actually as a compliment. She took it compliment. Next day when she came, you look really beautiful today, he said. The woman suspected, anyway, compliment, one more compliment, no problem, she said. Third day, no, it's something I can't tolerate. So good, I'll tell you, you're simply exorbitant. He started actually. Then she suspected this idiot actually must be having something in his mind. She said, look, better actually mind your bloody business. If you ever speak like this, I not keep it. This man actually was humiliated because all employees were sitting here. When she shouted at him, he was humiliated. And after 1 week, actually, she went there, actually, she wanted to leave, casual leave, she went there. The moment actually she kept her leave letter on the table, that man actually started shouting because he was humiliated. No, I'll never give you leave, you stupid woman. I am not going to do anything you like, he said. She got really, in fact, actually upset. Anyway, he is a senior actually man, she kept quiet. After 7-8 days, actually, she again went actually for a CL for an emergency. She was actually once again in the same kind of rude behavior, rejected it. Then she immediately walked into her committee with a complaint. This idiot actually sexually harassed me, and when I'm asking actually for leave, he's not giving. We entertained the complaint and we issued a notice. That person actually came and started shouting, sir, what do you think of me? He said, we don't know anything about you. We have never actually thought anything about you, except actually you are a bloody idiot fellow who was actually harassed her. But for that, we don't know. I am a married man. So what, I said. He thinks that actually a married man will not do all these things. I have children, he said. Good, naturally, after marriage, children will be there at home. There's nothing wrong in it. Then how do you say that actually I harassed her? So, fellow, I am not saying it. That woman is saying it. Look, here is the complaint. Look at it. So, no, I have not done it, etc., etc. He argued actually for half an hour, actually nearly 45 minutes actually with the committee members. And he was just actually, that time, because we could not actually hold any proceedings further, we want to call it off. And he was going. I called him, come here, I said, fellow, come. So, you say that you have not done anything. Why she should unnecessarily come and actually give a complaint against you? Right? She came actually to you twice actually for leave. You rejected. Yes, sir, I rejected. Why did you reject? What is the reason? No, we could not, sir, because there is plenty of actually work. She had to, I could not actually grant leave, etc., etc. Not only that woman, I'll tell you, two more women actually have given the same kind of a complaint that you harassed them. Sir, I am not that kind of person, etc. See, whether you are that kind of person or not, I don't know. I am seeing you for the first time. But this is what the complaint is. So, if these people, if you don't actually inquire into deeply, they will go to the police station. Though at least I am actually making you sit, actually I am inquiring actually in a very decent manner, what's the matter. If you go to police station, one slap actually they give you on your face and say, tell me what happened. Right? That is the kind of treatment you are going to get. And when 2-3 women actually say that they have been actually harassed by you, that is a very, very strong evidence. That is more than sufficient. Then you realize actually the dimension of the problem. Sir, tell me, sir, what should I do? See, there is only one option that is open to you. Under section 10 of the Act, there is one provision. There is a possibility of compromise. You can compromise. The compromise is possible only when she agrees. When she agrees. Go and beg her. Catch her actually feet. Tell her. Seek excuse. Do something. And after actually 1 week, both of them actually came with a compromise agreement. Right? We agreed. I asked the woman, is there any problem? Mudka ogli budi sir silent like. It was compromised. No, otherwise, this would have actually become a big problem. So, therefore, actually telling women how beautiful you are actually in this dress, you should be extremely careful. If you know the other person very well, you make this wonderful comment. Absolutely no problem. If you go and actually tell the same thing to a stranger, one big slap you might get. You should be extremely careful. You can't actually go to the road, and if a good girl is going there, you look very beautiful today, if you say, that day will be really bad for you. So therefore, you should be extremely careful. And sometimes actually, because these are all the practical examples actually I'm quoting, because calling late at night, oh, how are you? 12 o'clock you call, and how are you? Did you have your actually dinner? Everything was good today? Idiot, I was sleeping, you wake me up and actually say, how are you? What is this nonsense, sir? And that person happens to be senior officer. You can't simply be rude to him, no, senior officer. I'll tell you, one government of Karnataka senior officer, a lady actually, after my discussion actually in one of the training programs, she came to me, sir, my senior officer, I think he could be an IAS officer. This idiot actually calls me late at night, and it deliberately me actually withholds me actually in the office, holds me back in the office on the pretext actually of office work, and he tries to in fact make a kind of an advances towards me. And if at all my husband comes to know that, I will tell you it's going to be a big problem. I was literally shocked. You are a senior officer, my dear lady. If you say so, what about actually the poor people? I'll tell your attendants, peons and clerks. Who is going to protect them? A senior officer, I'll tell you, was really tortured actually by her senior. This is what exactly happens. So therefore, you should be. And one more thing I would like to tell you. So there is a 40% jump actually in the last couple of years, I'll tell you, in sexual harassment. You believe it or not, all the women who actually work or study like you, so nearly 89% of these women actually face one or the other kind of sexual harassment at workplace or the place where they study or work. 89% of the women. Many times you do not know what actually a sexual harassment is. I went to an institution, I'll tell you, where 250 people actually were working, and in that organization, I'll tell you, there was only one actually washroom for both men and women. I'll tell you, this is a classic case actually of sexual harassment. Men actually go to the washroom and they'll be talking all nonsense, they never actually want to come out. If a woman wants to go there, she has to simply wait, and when she is there, some actually men barge into it. It is really embarrassing. I told the management, you better actually have one more actually washroom actually for women, otherwise you are going to land up actually in trouble. And subsequently they had to do it. They have now a separate actually washroom. So, and not only that, I'll tell you, most of the people who actually are the victims of this, no, if you have travelled actually from Mysore to Bangalore, I'll tell you, near Ramnagara, etc., plenty of actually these textile actually workers, daily wages actually get into the train, and most of them actually fully, large number of people actually board, and actually they get down actually just before Bangalore, because that is where you find the concentration actually of garment factories. These women, I'll tell you, they are not regular employees. Their employment actually is not regulated actually by any law. Their daily wages, anytime they could be kicked out of the work, and they have to be under the mercy actually of the proprietor owner. Nearly, I'll tell you, 80% of these women actually are sexually harassed every day, and 15 to 16% are sexually assaulted. Still actually they keep their mouth shut because they are scared of the future, and they are scared actually of losing the job. Look at the tragedy of this case, right? And in America, I'll tell you, only 1% of women actually go to the appropriate authorities to make a complaint. Only 1%. Though 80% of American women actually are harassed at workplaces, only 1% go. You know why? They're scared of the consequences, backlashes by the management. But Indian women are very strong. 27% of Indian women actually go and actually give a complaint. Indian girls and women actually do it, right? So this is it. So it all started, I'll tell you, you might ask me, sir, don't we have enough actually laws which can actually regulate this? I'll tell you, no other country has as many laws as we have, I'll tell you, in this country. Do you know how many laws? 11,000 pieces of legislation. 11,000 pieces of legislation. And I'll tell you the data, you will be shocked. There are 22,000 judges in this country. 22,000 judges. 17,000 courts. 2 dozen actually high courts. 1 Supreme Court. Hundreds and hundreds actually of tribunals. And our budget actually for judiciary is about 40,000 crores per year. We spend 40,000 crores to pay the salary and all that nonsense actually to the judges so that they can give us justice. And this is the country, I'll tell you, where we have 22 lakh lawyers. How many? That is not a big number, I'll tell you. For a population of 145 crore, 25 lakh actually, 22 lakh actually advocates actually not a big number because Indians are less litigious. Jagalagantra alla avaru. Yaro Indian. Summne jagalane adala avaru. Summne quiet, they will be very quiet. The Indian wives actually are so patient, I'll tell you. They go to any extent actually to tolerate the nonsense of the husbands. And hardly some of them who cannot go to the court, actually file a case. If they get justice, it's fine. Otherwise, no. Unlike in the West, I'll tell you, they are very, very litigious. If the husband snores at the night, next day morning, wife goes to the court, my husband snores, I can't sleep, therefore I want divorce. The court will readily give a divorce. You go and marry someone who doesn't snore. Go get lost. In India, your marriage is very, very simple. But divorce is the most difficult actually thing. A person once actually had a very, very quarrelsome wife. The wife actually was very quarrelsome. Whole day she used to quarrel. He went to his friend and said, what to do actually? My wife is so quarrelsome actually. I want some relief. A friend he said, why are you worried? I say, you apply for divorce and take divorce. So that he can actually marry someone who doesn't quarrel. He thought there will be women who do not quarrel. He thought that. That was his mistake anyway. And he thought, yes, if I get divorce, I'll get a new wife and I can live happily. They went to a lawyer to file a case. The lawyer was also waiting. Oh, your divorce case, please come. He also. And he, don't worry, I'll get you divorce, etc. And they went to a celebration mood. Wife is divorced, new wife comes. They were in a hurry. But the judge was not in a hurry. And the case went on and on and on for 25 years. After 25 years, he gave actually the divorce. Take it. He said, I don't want, you only keep it. So therefore, in India, I'll tell you, instead of actually going filing a case actually in a court actually for divorce, better actually make compromise actually with your earlier wife and keep quiet. Instead of actually, because in India, we say marriages actually are meant to live together, not to divorce. That is our concept. There are only 15 reasons for divorce in India. Only 15 reasons. And those reasons actually must be made very, very clear to the judge, and judge must be totally convinced. Otherwise, no problem. Stay, no problem. Don't worry. Stay with it, etc. Because we do not actually want to. So this is it. And first and the foremost actually case that came up actually was way back actually 1997, where the Supreme Court had to give a decision stating that, look, fellow, we'll have to have a set of rules. We don't have a law where women actually are harassed and in workplaces. No law actually protects them. Make a law, it said. Before you make a law, look, these are the guidelines you follow. 1997 Supreme Court said. But our wonderful government actually did not make any law till 2013. Nearly for 16 long years, I'll tell you, we had to in fact actually follow the guidelines. In between, I'll tell you, Supreme Court warned twice the government, do it something. If you don't do it, you may have to take action. At last, actually, the 2013 Act came. And the Act came and repeated the whole bloody thing actually, as that was actually mentioned here. See, our laws actually are so bad, I'll tell you. Macaulay, when he drafted actually the rape law in 1825, the same bloody definition actually we kept till 2012. Same definition, I'll tell you. See, 1825, what was the idea of actually rape? The same idea actually was there for nearly 200 years. In 2012, after actually Delhi rape case, you must have heard, I'll tell you, in 2012, were you born? Huh? What were you were going to school? Huh? 2012? Almost 13 years ago? Huh? Allah? Chikar Allah. Huh? At that time, actually, one very, very bizarre kind of a rape actually takes place in Delhi, where a helpless woman actually was gang raped actually by 5 people in a running bus. And all of them, I'll tell you, in rotation, rape her, not just actually mere rape. They actually torture her, they bite her, they scratch her, they kick her. And the man who was accompanying her actually was thrashed, he became unconscious. And all of them, I'll tell you, they beat her, They did everything, and that wasn't actually sufficient. You know, in lorries and buses, they will have actually one L shape actually rod for removing the tire actually spanner, they call it, right? L shape, a solid actually rod. This was inserted into our actually private organ and rolled and removed. Where 60 to 70% of our internal organs actually were damaged, they were dangling outside. They were dangling outside the body. They chop it off and throw the body. There's something horrible, I'll tell you, the entire country actually was shocked. Now, usually in police academy, they asked me to come and actually teach this actually as a case study, because in a year in India, 33,000 rapes take place. For a population actually of 145 crore, 33,000 rapes actually take place. To me, I'll tell you that is not a big number. To you, I'll tell you 33,000 actually almost per day, it's about actually nearly 100 rapes, right? But in America, I'll tell you, for a population of 33 crore, 3 lakh rape takes place. 3 lakh rapes take place. And after that, actually 2012, our rape laws have become so tight, I'll tell you, it has come down to, in fact, 30, it was earlier 40,000, it has come down to 32, 33,000, right? But I'll tell you, you might tell me that can't we totally, in fact, actually get rid of this nonsense? It is certainly not possible, because in human society, all these evils actually have to live. It is actually certainly possible. It may not be possible. Yeah. So therefore, our laws actually are so stale, outdated, many of them actually do not actually meet as the present requirement, right? This is one thing. So I would like to just actually tell you what exactly this law says. It says you have a kind of a local mechanism. If you are harassed sexually, you can approach, you don't have to go to court, right? In your own institution, I'll tell you, they call it ICC. The chairperson of the ICC is very much sitting here, right? You can actually also contact her. I'm sure I'll tell you there are actually posters actually across the campus where all detailed information actually is given. Any kind of thing actually you can directly, without revealing even your identity, right? You can actually give a complaint. This is the committee actually will look into it. Not only that, your friend actually is suffering this kind of a problem and she is not actually interested in giving a complaint, you can give it. Anybody else actually also can actually do it. Then the question comes, so what about us, sir, the boys, sir? If someone harasses us, what can we do? Will the boys be harassed sexually? It is indeed actually possible, I'll tell you, but in India, law doesn't permit. I'll tell you, in India, rape can take place only against women, not actually with men. Unlike in the West, I'll tell you, it is not gender neutral. It is an offense, I'll tell you, can be committed only against a thing. So there is one more actually offense here actually which you can do it. It is called the outraging the modesty of a woman. Outraging the modesty of a woman. But our law doesn't actually clearly define what is modesty. And the modesty is exclusive prerogative of a woman. There is no modesty for men. Men do not actually enjoy modesty. One interesting actually case happened. A wonderful looking girl actually was standing actually in the dais and talking to the boy, the audience. Someone actually comes from the back and actually pats on her back openly. She said it's outraging the modesty. You think actually it is outraging the modesty? I want an answer from you. Yes. It is indeed, I'll tell you. It is outraging. Come on, tell me, a girl is standing, the posterior you come and actually hit in front actually of everybody. It is indeed actually what? Outraging the modesty. On the other hand, you see actually a man is standing and a girl actually comes from the back and hits. What is it? A compliment? It is not outraging the modesty, because our law has clearly mentioned that, I'll tell you, because in Europe they might actually recognize. Right? So therefore, please boys, you can only be the accused. You cannot be the victim. There was one wonderful provision under IPC 377. Our new law actually has removed it. That is unnatural offense, homosexuality, etc., etc. If there is actually an act of homosexuality or lesbianism, earlier there used to be, I'll tell you, life imprisonment was the punishment for it. Minimum 10 years of imprisonment. But the present law says nothing doing, I'll tell you, that is their choice. In 2009, in Delhi High Court, a case actually came. All these lesbians and homosexuality filed a case. I'll tell you, it is our human right. So a man actually says, if I like a man, I go behind him. If I like a girl, I go behind him. It's my bloody choice. Who are you to say that I must always go behind a woman or marry a woman? No, nothing. It's my human right. So all these conservative actually people said, what is this nonsense? No, it is not possible. So for week long, I'll tell you, there was a huge argument actually in Delhi High Court. And one of actually the person in support actually of lesbianism, he said, sir, say example, I like jamuns, right? So I make a law, you all should eat jamun. If you eat jalebi, you will be sent to jail for 3 years. This is exactly what it is. If I go behind a woman, it's my bloody choice, human right. Delhi High Court said, yes, okay, it's a human right. They liberalize actually, they made it actually, it is not actually a kind of an offense. But the Supreme Court actually put, when it was taken in appeal, the Supreme Court said, no, it is not possible because such a law we can't make it. A law should be made in the parliament, therefore we can't actually make it. The same Supreme Court actually, because our Chief Justice was very much interested actually in order to legalize actually homosexuality. But other judges did not agree. Then it was revived in 2018, actually Supreme Court actually once again came out with a decision stating that homosexuality or lesbianism is not an offense at all. Is not an offense at all. So therefore, you must be allowed. There are 6 countries in the world, I'll tell you, where same-sex marriages take place. In India, after actually 2018 judgment, some of the people actually went and said, make marriage legal, legalize the marriage. Man and man marriage, you legalize it. There are 6 countries actually legalize it. So our judges actually were very furious. What is this nonsense? I'll tell you, we have decriminalized homosexuality. But you are going actually one step further, you say marriage. Why marriage? I'll tell you, anyway, we have not actually made it as a crime. Be happy. No, sir, we want to marry. Then 14 long days, I'll tell you, Supreme Court actually, because Supreme Court, I'll tell you, 10 minutes time actually is a very great actually time. 14 long days, I'll tell you, this matter actually was heard. And our Advocate General, Attorney General, Tushar Mehta posed wonderful actually questions. He said, sir, okay, we'll allow actually man to marry another man. Tomorrow they become couple, right? And after that actually they feel actually life empty, they'll have to have a child. They can't have a child, therefore they adopt the child. When they adopt a child, the child should actually call whom as mother and who as father. In the Western countries, dad 1 and dad 2, they say it. Dad 1, come here. Dad 2, you go. Something like that. India, then not only that, I'll tell you, tomorrow if they have some kind of a problem, someone has to divorce the other, no? Who should divorce whom and who should actually pay compensation and maintenance to other? Please actually don't enter into this nonsense. You will wait for some more time, I'll tell you. Because I could see in Ireland actually a couple coming out of the church after marriage, 2 men, so happily holding each other's hand. They are actually having gala time, laughing and coming out. I saw the photograph. My friend actually was sitting next to me. He saw that. What is this nonsense? Why are they so happy? They asked. The happiness is there, you don't know. You please keep quiet. Because your happiness, I may not be able to appreciate, I'll tell you. Therefore, your human right actually says your happiness is your bloody problem. You feel happy with that, you feel happy. Do it, right? So don't say your concept of happiness should be accepted by that. Look, this is it. Look, these are, I'll take another 5 minutes. What are actually the acts which you can actually call sexual harassment and what actually is not sexual harassment? Please actually, this is like a quiz. These are the acts which can be conveniently called sexual actual harassment. Making sexually suggestive remarks. Sexually suggestive remarks. You ಭಾರಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕಾಣ್ತೀರಿ ಕಣ್ರಿ ಇವತ್ತು ನೀವು ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರೇ ಅದ್ಭುತ ಇವತ್ತು ನೀವು ಅಂದರೆ is it actually sexual harassment? It all depends what kind of a relationship you have. She's a very close friend of yours. She takes that as a complimentary remark, etc. ಯಾರು ನ್ಯೂ ಕಮ್ಮರಿಗೆ ಆನ್ ದ ರೋಡಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ serious repeated remarks. Okay, your own classmate will tell you, once you remark, okay, repeatedly same remark if you keep making, it is indeed actually. And not only that, offensive jokes and vulgar jokes, right? You are free to in fact crack any kind of a joke. You must be very, very careful who is around you. You must make sure. If it is a girl, I will tell you, near you, she overhears you, I will tell you, she can certainly file a case against you. So therefore, if you want to crack vulgar jokes, where you should go? Go to an isolated place where there are no women, actually crack it. Don't. Inappropriate suggestions and actually questions you are not supposed to ask. And unwelcome social invitation. If there is a party today at 12 o'clock in the night, will you come? And that itself actually goes to show that this person actually has got some kind of an ulterior actually. Physical contact actually as touching and pinching, I'll tell you. physical contact. Say that is why in India actually we are very, very sober and actually we have high ethical standards. When a woman actually is introduced to a man, he will say namaste and he will take few steps back. That is the best way actually of doing it. Unlike in the West, shaking hands and embracing, planting a cheek, how wonderful to meet you. If you say, that is their actual habit. They can do it, I'll tell you. It is acceptable there. A man comes to India, does it, I'll tell you, the next moment he will be in a police station. Because that is not actually accepted here. It cannot be done. And not only that, persistently asking actually the girl out, you please come out, we'll have some kind of a coffee, tea, etc., etc., etc. No, nothing of this sort. This is it. Look, these are the things I'll tell you are comments or activities. Maybe sometimes I'll tell you are sexually determined behavior, but you will have to look into each case and find out. Say for example, criticizing, insulting in public. A teacher criticizes the student for the mistakes openly, it cannot be called actually as harassment. It is an act of actually discipline or enforcing actually some kind of a standard of teaching, right? That is not, certainly not. And secondly, deliberately excluding a person actually from group activity. So a person is approached for some kind of sexual favor. When she refuses, she is isolated. Either she is given heavy work to do it, or she is not given any work at all. She feels absolutely isolated, and that is indeed actually is a kind of actual harassment. You must look into it, whether he has done it deliberately or not. And systematically interfering actually in some kind of a normal work. This is one thing you must actually care. But these are the things I'll tell you, which you can never actually say is sexual harassment. What is that? Say for example, following up on work absences. Say for example, you keep inquiring about a person, why he is actually absenting. Actually absenting is not good, do it, and you are not actually done your task within time. These are, I'll tell you, simply following up actually actions, and they are not actually, because I have received several of the complaints, especially actually in one AR where actually an officer is a very, very strict person, and that person actually was enforcing actually discipline amongst his subordinate juniors. One of the women actually did not like it because she was a lazy woman. And when he persistently said that actually you are not up to standard, you have to do it actually, your target you are not finishing, etc., etc., she files a complaint actually before the committee. This man actually is harassing me sexually. So it's a very, very difficult, because what is administrative action, what is actually this kind of a sexually oriented action, you will have to make a clear distinction. But since she is a woman, we had to take the case and conduct an inquiry, and after detailed inquiry, her husband, who was a married woman, he appeared before actually the committee. He said, "Yulu manel hanebara ide sir, manelu inge martali yulu na inge." So he deposed against his wife actually in the committee. Then we had to in fact actually discharge actually that person, and I had to write actually that order. This was a false complaint. For false complaint, I'll tell you, there is a provision here. You can actually initiate some kind of an action actually under service routes. I simply said actually she may be warned and let off, because hardly any woman actually come forward actually with some kind of complaint, if at all, if there is an harassment. If at all, if you punish this particular woman, even those who are coming actually may hesitate to come forward. That is why she was just warned and let off. Like this. And not only that, requiring actually performance to job standards. You will have to do a particular job according to job standards. If you don't do it, I have every right to ask, right? If I ask and if you say it's a sexual harassment, no. Administrative actually actions are totally different from actually sexually determined behavior. Work-related stress, I'll tell you, who is not stressed these days? Can you please actually name a person who is not stressed? Everyone, even kindergarten children who go to school, I'll tell you, they are also stressed. Early morning they have to get up, carry a big bag, and actually there in the school and learn all that nonsense which is not of no use actually tomorrow in life. Many things you have learned, I'll tell you, which you are not going to use at all in your life. Elvendre? Yes, it is. And the child actually is equal. Everyone, I'll tell you. So including old men and women, aged people, they are waiting when actually death is going to come. They are so much stressed because they can't. So therefore, if you say, because of this person actually I'm stressed and actually I'm, no, that is not actually possible. And not only that, constructive feedback. Look, your handwriting is not good. If a man actually says to a girl, she should actually take it as a constructive actually comment. Sir, ನನ್ನ ಕಂಡ್ರೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಿ ಅಂದರೆ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಟ್? ಈ ಸ್ಪೀಕಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಒಂದು ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್. ಈ ಥರ ಅಲ್ಲ ರೀ ಬರೆಯೋದು ಲೆಟ್ರ್, ಈ ಥರ ಬರೀಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನೋ 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 ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಬಿ ದಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಮೇ. And if you want to give a complaint, you can actually give a complaint actually. They will conduct an inquiry. Within 3 months, you must actually give the complaint. So, for every act, there is a limitation. You can't actually say, 2 years ago, this man harassed me, sir. Where were you for the 2 days? For every offense, I'll tell you, there is a limitation. But some offenses do not have the limitations. For example, murder, some rape, etc., etc., you don't actually have any kind of a limitation. You know, there was one actor actually in Hindi cinema, Jitendra. When I was a student, he was a roaring actually star. Some of your teachers must know it. Nimagela gottilla, Jitendra anta obidda. So against him actually a case was filed. When I was acting with him in Darjeeling, he raped me in 1972. This case was filed in 2015. After 43 years, the policeman had to register a case. If it doesn't register, I'll tell you, he will have to go to jail for 6 months. Register ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು. Then after that went to Jitendra's house. Sir, ನೀವೇನೋ 72ನೇ ಇಸ್ವಿಲಿ ರೇಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಂತಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್, ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್. ಡಾರ್ಜಿಲಿಂಗ ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅದು ಡಾರ್ಜಿಲಿಂಗ್? Because that man is too old. But the police had to went to Darjeeling and saw, I'll tell you, where there was a hotel, now there is a complex. Nothing of this. Police had to write all these things and actually say, B report, the complaint is false. Then you might ask me, sir, why they are supposed to in fact actually register a case after such a long time? It is indeed actually required. You know why? Because the rape accused might threaten, if you ever go to the police station, I am going to kill your actually children or parents, etc., etc. So therefore, if you say, for example, within 1 year you have to give a complaint, 1 year actually they'll be held in threat. And after 1 year, I will tell you, they can't actually go to the police station. The case automatically drops down. Therefore, you have removed it. You removed it. ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ಬ ಬಂದಂತೆ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ಗೆ, ಸರ್ ಹೋದ ಸರಿ ನನ್ನ ಪರ್ಸು ಈ ದಸರಾಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಕದ್ಬಿಟ್ರು ಸರ್, ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಬಸ್ ಹತ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ, ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೆ, ಬರೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಸರಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್, ಕೇಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಎಷ್ಟಿತ್ತು ಪರ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು. 15 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇತ್ತು ಅನ್ನಂತ. ಕೆನ್ನೆ ಹೊಡೆದು ಕಳಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ನಿನ್ನನ್ನು, ಈಗ ಹೋಯ್ತೇ ಇಲ್ವ, ರೇಪ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಕೇಸ್ ಬುಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ, ನೀನು 15 ರೂಪಾಯಿಗೆ 1 ವರ್ಷದ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ಯಾ ಅಂತ, ರೈಟ್? ದೇರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಸಮ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್. 3 months we have given actually for sexual harassment. 3 months, right? So, say for example, you could not actually file a case within 3 months. Can you still actually file after that actually by some kind of a relaxation? Yes, it is left to the decision of the committee. Say for example, this man actually had a genuine reason, he could not actually file a case within 3 months. He can certainly do it, right? So, and within actually 90 days, they will actually give a decision, and the decision actually could be taken in appeal also. I'll tell you, madam, who happens to be the chairperson, she will have the power of a civil judge. If someone actually refused to appear before the committee, he could be arrested or actually brought before the committee. And if you want to go in appeal, I'll tell you, from the decision of the committee, you'll have to go to the High Court directly. In most of the cases that I have read, I'll tell you, the High Court has never reversed actually the decisions taken by the ICC committee. It's such a powerful actually committee. So this is the legal actual backdrop of this one, right? So therefore, we shall not actually go to that particular extent. Therefore, you please actually change your behavior, alter actually your conduct, so that actually we are next 4 years actually must be extremely good, and you should not actually unnecessarily get into any kind of a problem. So before I conclude, I just wanted to say something which I always actually tell to everybody, that you should be extremely careful actually with your what is known as actually your social media interactions, your actually cyber kind of actually activities, because these days laws actually have been developed. In 2000 actually we brought that particular act, and huge number of actually cases are happening. Digital arrest actually is the latest actually thing, where a person actually held actually in arrest for days together in his own house through phone, and some idiot actually in Mumbai or Delhi actually says you got to be there only, don't ever actually go anywhere. If you ever go, something is going to happen. So I'll tell you, some of the police officers actually have been digitally arrested for days together. Because he knows actually what this idiot has done in the past. With that data, if you go and actually talk to that person, he will simply listen. Recently, one of my friends, actually, son, who is an engineer, he was digitally arrested and he was made to pay 5 lakh rupees. And he came and told me. Then why actually are so much scared? Because you have not done anything wrong. And moreover, you are an engineer, I'll tell you. What kind of a nonsensical engineer, I say? You know something about actually this cyber thing. And you have not done anything wrong. Why were you scared? Luckily, to his luck, I'll tell you, the money actually came back. But one of the professors, actually, Manas Gangotri, retired actually professor, she lost 10 lakh rupees. Madam, ಏನ್ರಿ ಇದು ಹಿಂಗೆ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಸೊ ಅವ್ರು ಏನೇ ಹೇಳೋಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಸರ್ ಫೋನಲ್ಲಿ 10 ಲಕ್ಷ ಕೊಡೋರ್ಗೆ ಬಿಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ಸರ್ ನಾನು. She could only get back actually after interfering actually and talking to all actually those officers, she could only get actually 5 lakh rupees back. The remaining 5 lakh rupees she did not get at all. There you should be absolutely careful, especially actually using your actually mobiles, because I also talk to police officers actually on forensic actually and electronic evidences. These days I'll tell you, every nonsense that you do actually will be captured actually in one or the other form. The data is available to everybody and you yourself actually will be revealing your data to the general public. So therefore they will use it wonderfully. One last interesting case I would, how sometimes actually we do this nonsense. And this is an actual case, I'll tell you, it happened in Chikmagalur few years ago. When Annamalai, the present actually the chairman, he was actually the SP there, he told actually this very interesting thing. A couple actually wanted to go actually on a holiday to Goa. Right? They're living actually near somewhere actually Chikmagalur in an estate. So the wife actually is a very, this social media crazy lady. We are going to go Goa for next 5 days. We are going to have fun. Entire family is going. She is actually posted one thing. The thieves actually thought 1 week we have actually good time to do it. We are on the way, one more posting. We are on the beach and enjoying, etc., etc. And after 3 days, the holiday is over. We were so sad to come back. One more posting. We are on the way, one more posting. This man came, stayed in the house, bundled the whole bloody thing, cooked food, ate, and when they are near to the house, he just left the house. And I'll tell you who actually aided this person to do all this thing. ನೀವೇ ಅಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ತಕ್ಕ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಫೋಟೋ ತೆಗೆದು ಹಾಕ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಮಾಫ್ಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮಿಸ್ಯೂಸ್ಡ್. ಬಿ ಕೇರ್ಫುಲ್, ಐ ಟೆಲ್ ಯು. ಸೊ ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಮೆನಿ ಕೇಸ್, ಐ ಟೆಲ್ ಯು, ಫೋರೆನ್ಸಿಕ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಟೆಲ್ ಬಿ ದಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಮೇ. So this is all I want to in fact actually tell you, that you will have to be here for the purpose actually of studying. Your main actually intention should be towards that. And all other actually fun, etc., should be your last actually priority. I am not saying thereby that actually you should not actually live like an ascetic or a saint in the college for next 5 years. No. I am not saying that. Enjoy your life, but draw a line actually of one limitations and don't ever cross it. With this I stop. If you have any kind of a doubt actually on this, you can ask me. Thank you very much.
Anyone has any questions for sir? Yeah, please.
Sir, you said that stealing is an offense and it's considered as a form of harassment. And I kind of doubt that. How do you, like stealing is a very complicated thing. How do you actually determine that the person has stared the other person? Like, he could be seeing something else. Like, the man is sitting there. I might actually see the window, and she might perceive that I'm staring her. So, how do you actually determine? And is there any right to protect the accused? Right.
See, this is indeed a very difficult thing, because the sexual harassment actually takes place between two people. The person is sitting next to me, and I sit with him thinking that actually he's sitting quietly. There's a girl sitting opposite, and they have some kind of a conversation actually through their actually eyes. The girl actually says this man is doing some kind of a nonsense. And she gives a complaint, says actually I am going to be a witness there. What kind of a witness am I? This man sitting next to me, sitting quietly, but he is conversing actually with opposition actually girl through his eyes is extremely difficult. See, I'll tell you, when a girl actually says this man actually is giving a very tough and very bad and lusty look, if she says so, our Indian Evidence Act simply says the burden of proving that actually I did not do is on the person and the boy who actually stayed at home. Because it is between two people, a kind of a conversation or the activity that actually takes place between two people, and nobody else actually can say it. And we'll have to believe someone. We can't actually believe both the people. Whom should we believe? The man or actually the victim? I'll tell you, law says you will have to believe the victim first. Not that believe in the sense, a kind of a presumption. This could have happened. So if it is not happened, you prove it. You prove it. So one interesting thing actually happened. A woman actually, if someone actually stares at a woman or looks at a woman when she is in private, it is an offense. It is actually called voyeurism. Means when a woman is in privacy, if I go and peep, I'll tell you it is an offense. One of the officers, she said, I was so fed up actually with my family members, I want to be in private, I went to palace to see actually the palace lighting. And she was actually enjoying, there was a person actually who wanted to take the picture actually of the palace when it was actually lit. So he takes the photograph, in between comes this wonderful woman's face. Next day morning he posts actually that in his Facebook actually account and she files a case. How dare you put my photo? She says, who has put your bloody face? I'll tell you, see behind what is there. That is what I have told you. The question actually comes up before, whether she was in privacy in public place. See, only when you look at a person, because one senior most officer actually in Bangalore went to a restaurant, actually was looking at the girls. He was looking at the girls. And the girls actually felt terribly upset. Why this man actually is looking? Because they did not know that it's a police officer. Immediately they called the police officer. His junior officer from the police station comes and looks at actually the accused is his boss. And he was hesitant to in fact file a case and somehow actually it got leaked. And got leaked actually it became, I'll tell you, in the newspaper, a big news I'll tell you. Then the police officer, the idiot, an IAS officer, an IPS officer, came forward to actually offer his resignation. The government said, idiot, learn something, don't resign, learn and behave properly. So therefore, what I am trying to say here is, this is the kind of actually thing is extremely difficult actually with a positive evidence to prove before the court of law. Therefore, if the girl actually says, he looked at me actually in a lusty eyes, that's it. She has to prove it, I did not do it. Right? There are plenty of actually gaps here which we cannot, because when in all other cases I'll tell you there is a documentary evidence or there is a witness, there is some kind of other kind of an evidence. Here I'll tell you these are the only two people. One is making an allegation against the other. So presumption is the woman actually is telling the truth, the man actually has to prove that he did not do it. And all looks I'll tell you are not actually bad looks. You will say, without looking you, I can't actually speak. Nah. Can you say that actually I'm sexually harassing you? Right? So the look, I'll tell you, it has to be in that kind of a look, I'll tell you, which should be considered as a sexual harassment. Okay? There is a bit difficulty in that, but the responsibility will be shifted actually on the accused. He should actually prove that I did not do it.
Any other question? Yeah, please.
Like you did say, there are plenty of loopholes in this particular thing, sir. But the loopholes need to be fixed now.
No, I understood your question.
Like we need to make debates and have some very intellectual discussions about these things and need to be fixed very soon. Like our law says that 10 ನಿರಪರಾಧಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಹೋದ್ರು ಒಬ್ಬ 10 ಅಪರಾಧಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷೆ ತಪ್ಪಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು ಒಬ್ಬ ನಿರಪರಾಧಿಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷೆ ಆಗ್ಬಾರ್ದು. Like what if he is not knowledgeable enough to prove?
Okay, I'll tell you. I got the point. I think you can hear me, na?
Yes.
See, I'll tell you, there is a concept known as, if you want in fact actually fix the liability on a person for a criminal act, you will have to prove beyond all reasonable doubt that this person has committed an offense. This is the stand-up. If I say that you have committed an offense, I must convince the judge. My convincing should be such that actually it should be beyond all reasonable doubt. There should not be any doubt at all. The judge actually must be 100% convinced. Only then I will tell you you will be punished. Otherwise you will not be punished. I can make actually 100 allegations against you. Unless and until I convince the judge, look, that this allegation is true, she will not actually take it. That is the rule. That's the rule. This is in criminal cases. Whereas in civil cases, I tell you, you come out actually with your case and the other person comes out with their cases. What are your evidences? What are your other person's evidences? They weigh. Whichever actually is weighty, in his favor actually decision will be given. But in criminal cases, proving beyond all reason. Therefore, as you said, let 100 actually guilty be go scot free, but not a single innocent person be punished. That is the reason why I tell you, if 100 murders, rapes take place, in Karnataka only 8 people actually were going to be killed. Remaining 92 were actually were going scot free. Now after 2012, I tell you, laws actually were tightened and now actually conviction rate has gone. Right? Because even if there is a small doubt that the person actually has not committed an offense, the benefit would be given to the person. So this is actually being misused also. That is why now the responsibility of proving has been shifted actually on the accused. Accused actually should prove I have not committed. Because he is the one who knows everything. He should actually prove it. And he should convince the judge, I have not done it, sir. If the judge is convinced, you are free. He is not convinced, you have to go. Tell me.
So, how can males deal with this false allegations and false? How can males deal with false allegations and false?
Regarding this, sir?
Yeah.
Harassment.
See, I tell you, there is a provision actually under this particular. It's a small act. One particular provision says if any particular woman actually gives a false case only to in fact harass a man, according to service rules, some action should be taken. Our civil service rules, I tell you, Karnataka KCSR, they have clearly mentioned it is considered as a misconduct. If you give a false case against a man and you fail to prove it, then I tell you it is a misconduct. For misconduct, there are I think 2 kinds of penalties, major penalties and minor penalties. Major penalty will call for actually dismissal, removal from the service. Minor penalty means could be suspension, could be transfer or cutting down actually is in the increment, etc., etc. There is adequate actually provision under actually the rule. If at all if someone actually gives a false case, it will be taken care of. Absolutely no.
No more questions? Okay.
You all look tired. Why? I have the one actually spoke. You look tired. Why? And that's why I told you that when you are listening is a greater.
Maybe afternoon they'll get energized. They have activities. They have cultural activities in the afternoon. So I would like to thank Professor Suresh for accepting our invitation and briefing you about the POSH laws and gender laws. We are indeed happy to have you and thank you, sir. I request Dr. Vidya to present a memento to sir.
See, this is my institution. Why memento is not required. Ask me to come and ministeriಗಳಿಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ಒಂದು ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ. Give that opportunity, madam. Thank you.
I'll come. 2 minutes. And to know about, I mentioned earlier, ICC, to know about the ICC committee chairman, Dr. R.K. Bharti ma'am is here to brief you about ICC at JSSSTU.
Good afternoon, one and all. Seeking the blessings of His Holiness, I take up this opportunity to introduce myself first, thanking Dr. Suresh for all this elaborative description about the law, etc., etc. I, Dr. Bharti R.K., heading the Department of Computer Applications, also the chairman of Internal Complaint Committee, the committee constituted in our university to adhere the safe and security of all the students, in fact, not only for the girl students, it's for all the students. Whatever the sir has said, we have been following it. Our committee, you can see the signboards of our committee across all the buildings in the institute. internal complaint committee. We have two external members who is predominantly very highly qualified and knowledgeable. One is Suresh sir as our external member of this committee, and other member is Sumana madam, who is an advocate, practicing advocate for more than 3 to 4 decades in Mysore. And other two members from our institution to be the part of the committee is Dr. Nagendra Prasad sir. Hope you might have met him already. The student welfare officer, and other one is yeah, Veena madam from electronics and communication department. See, the couple of things that I wanted to tell at this juncture is in continuation to what Suresh sir has spoken, within the college premises, any of the complaint that comes to us is only regarding the words that any of the student would use to others, the act that would perform upon the other students. So you have to be very cautious when you are commenting your friends or commenting on any act of any friends, either orally or in the digital media. Especially in the digital media, again, as I said, you have to be very, very cautious whenever you are commenting on to your friend's post or in person also. Okay, and what is the punishment for the student who gets guilty over here is suspension from the institution, removal of the name of the student from the enrolled list, not allowing student to continue his or education in the institution. Okay, so I just want all of you to be safe and secure in the JSS Science and Technology University, SJCE. Follow the rules, be yourself, behave yourself. Okay, be cautious whenever you are going to communicate, whenever you are going to interact with your fellow friends. Thank you, one and all. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Oh,